Thank you, thank you, thank you. Verbal communication skills is the topic. It's my Gray Hill slides. I'm just reading through by way of just learning, and uh, I don't owe the original. All rights reserved. So so the chapter three of the same book written by Robert W. Lucas, Customer Service Skills for Success, and we are doing the verbal communication skills. So with this, we will look at the importance of effective communication in customer service. We would recognize the element of effective two-way interpersonal communication. We would project a professional customer service image through positive communication, provide feedback effectively, avoid language that could send a negative message and harm the customer relationship. Then we also use assertive communication techniques to enhance service. We identify key differences between assertive and aggressive behavior, and these are more important. So I don't owe any of this, right? These slides are not mine, it's for educational purposes. I'm just by my affiliation with Elite College, and I am using this. It's already prepared slides. Now, effective communication in customer service, element of effective two-way interpersonal communication, professional customer service image through positive communication, feedback, providing feedback effectively, language that could send a negative message and harm the customer relationship, assertive communication techniques to enhance service, key difference between assertive and aggressive behavior. Effective communication, we say effective communication is crucial in the exchange of information, and we say that the customer satisfaction is very important, and we say successful product and service fulfillment, and then we say little control over emotional state of customers. We have to be aware of how you communicate and the communication process works. That's we need to look at intrapersonal skills and interpersonal skills in customer service management. It's very, very important. So in customer service, we look at the main team, the main guy, the main thing is the customer satisfaction. And we have to look at how we want brand and make our product successful and also fulfill our services. And then we have to check the little control over emotional state of customers. We have to be aware of how we communicate and how the communication process also works. And these are what we call interpersonal skills. Okay. Now, when we consider effective communication, we say the importance of effective communication. We can look at it in terms of the two key elements. How we recognize how you communicate, ask for feedback. We understand how communication process works. So, now the importance of effective communication. The two key elements. We recognize how we communicate and we ask for feedback. We understand how communication process works, and that is more important. So we look at ensuring two-way communication. Interpersonal communication model. Two-way communication. So two-way communication, we look at the environment. Okay. If we're looking at the interpersonal communication model, the two-way communication, we look at the environment. And with the environment, we look at the office, the call center, the store, group, or individual setting. And whether we look at the sender, how the sender initiates the message, the receiver gathers and decodes the message, paraphrase to clarify. We look at the message, the idea or concept you wish to convey. We look at the channel, the method you use to transmit your message. And these are very, very important. So the two-way communication is the foundation of effective customer service. How can you be sure that you are listening to the customer? And it is very, very important. So, hey, how are you? Good afternoon. How may I help you? Then you start you listen to yourself, you listen to the customer. So you need to listen to the customer, and that is very, very important. Yeah. Ensuring two-way communication is very, very important. Ensuring two-way communication is very, very important. So with interpersonal communication model, we need to look at encoding. That is, we need to encode, we need to try and then break and then understand the language, the symbols, and the gestures used in communication. We need to understand them and then decode. We need to check the biases and then filters, because in trying to decode something, you need to check the biases and so that you really understand. So in coding, you use language, symbols, and gestures to communicate. You need to understand yourself and what you mean, right? And what you want to say. So before somebody could understand what you mean, there should be language, there should be symbol, there should be a gesture. That's encoding. And decoding, the next person trying to understand what there should be, it shouldn't be affected by biases and then filters. Then the feedback is the response to the sender's message. So, hey, good afternoon. How may I help you? Afternoon. I need a seat for 2. I need a table for 10. Can I check your menu? So you go that way, right? So there should be a response to the sender's message through feedback. And then noise. Physiological and psychological factors. Noise. We look at the physiological and the psychological factors. That's very, very important. When you look at the whole diagram, you see that this is interpersonal communication model. We have the environment, and then we see the environment here. Then when you look at the environment now, this is the sender. There are filters. Okay, there are filters so that you can encode whatever. So there are filters. I want a table for 2. So that's communication using language. Okay, so encoding, looking at the environment and the encode. Now the message goes here. Now in the environment, are they noise? Are they barriers or whatever? Now this message, I want a table for 2, is now decoded. Okay, then as it's being decoded, then the receiver gets it, and then there's filters and all that, so they understand what you mean. Then there will be a feedback. So you see, so now there is the sender encodes, and then the message is sent, and then the message is decoded, and then it's received. Then the feedback is generated and transferred to the sender, and that is how it goes. Yeah. Prepare communicating positively. We have to prepare for positive customer interactions. We have to prepare for positive customer interactions. That's communicating positively. The first element is plan. Get into a mental state of mind to provide quality customer service. Identify pet peeves. Pet peeves. So, positive communication model, we acronym is say plan. We prepare for customer interaction. We let customers know their importance. Address customer expectations positively. We nurture a continuing relationship. So we prepare for customer interactions. We let customers know their importance. We address customer expectations positively and nurture continuing relationship. So that is the plan. That's a positive communication model. So the positive communication, you prepare the customer interaction, you let customers know their importance, and you don't just end there. You also address the customer expectations positively and nurture a continuing relationship. So what is the positive communication model? You prepare the customer interactions, you let the customer know their importance, you address the customer's expectations positively, and then you nurture a continuing relationship. So prepare for customer interactions, let customers know the importance, address customer expectations positively, and nurture and continuing relationship. Yeah. Now, pay attention. Employees should pay close attention to what the customer is saying so that they can anticipate problems. Employees should pay close attention to what the customer is saying so that they can anticipate problems. So just look at this picture. Is this employee paying attention to what she's hearing? Barriers. Barriers, and these are very important. Now, let customers know their importance. The second element in plan, let customers know their importance. You let them know their importance. So you make customers feel welcome, focus on the customer as a person, offer assistance, be prepared, provide factual information, be helpful, accept responsibility, take appropriate action. That is very, very important. So you extend a welcoming smile and posture whenever interacting with customers. What are some ways that you can demonstrate that customers are welcome? So the third element here is address customer expectations positively. And whereas you project a positive customer service attitude and image, you use customer-centric language, use small talk, use positive I or we message, ask positively phrased questions, be specific, listen carefully, and respond appropriately. Positive message exchange. Look for ways to create a positive message exchange between you and your customer. Look for ways to create a positive message exchange between you and your customer. What are potential outcomes when a service provider communicates a can-do attitude with a customer? Nurture a continuing relationship. Nurture a continuing relationship. The fourth element in plan, take responsibility for leaving a positive impression. Take responsibility for leaving a positive impression. So take responsibility for leaving a positive impression, and that is nurture a continuing relationship. So now what do? You ask permission, you agree with customers, elicit customer feedback and participation, build rapport, close the transaction professionally. That is more important. The verbal feedback, we take into consideration the knowledge and skill level of your customer. Be conscious of how your customer is receiving your information. Use acronyms carefully. If you want to provide clear feedback, acronyms and jargons and abbreviations, no. Just speak clear language, be conspicuous, be clear, and do this professionally, okay? Non-verbal feedback. You need to manage body language very carefully, eye contact, effectively use positive facial expressions, and these are very, very important. Yep. Guidelines for providing positive feedback. You need to verify customers' meaning before providing feedback. When appropriate, we give feedback immediately when communicating face-to-face or over the telephone. We communicate in a clear, concise manner. You remain objective and unemotional when providing feedback. You make sure that your feedback is accurate before you provide it. You use verbal and non-verbal messages that are in congruence, agree with each other. Make sure that your feedback is appropriate to the customer's original message. Active listening helps in getting the original message. Strive to clarify feedback when the customer seems unclear of your intention. Avoid overly critical feedback or negative language. Do not provide feedback that could damage the customer-provider relationship. Focus your message on how you can work with the customer to accomplish needs satisfaction. Don't use vague or weak terminology. Don't use global terms. Avoid verbal finger pointing. So, a good metaphor for avoiding negative communication is the old adage of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So, if you want to avoid negative communication, there's this old adage. It says, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. That is very, very important. What are possible outcomes if you apply this concept with your customers? Assertiveness. Now, dealing assertively with customers. Assertiveness level relates directly to behavioral style preferences and culture. However, you need to try to negotiate a win-win. Okay, it should be a balance outcome. Then there should also be a show self-respect and respect for others. Express ideas confidently and positively. Be aware of cultural differences. Okay. Non-assertive. If you are communicating and you are non-assertive, there is poor eye contact while speaking, weak handshake, there is no use of verbal paralanguage, apologetic in words and tone, soft, subdued tone, finger pointing and blaming others, nervous gestures, indecisive or unsure, rambling speech. Now, those who are assertive, you look the customer in the eye, grasp the hand firmly without crashing, you stop, you gather thought, and you speak. You apologize if you make a mistake. Increase volume, sound firm and convincing. Take responsibility, resolve the problem. Hold something. Hold, fold your hands as you talk. Know your products and services. Think, plan, and then speak. Assertive behavior sustains customer relationships. Aggressive behavior can destroy relationships. You win and I win. Project an image of professionalism. Be self-assured and state what you believe to be true in a self-confident manner. Assertive versus aggressive service. See, aggression involves hostile or offensive behavior. Aggression involves hostile or offensive behavior. It involves behavior and language that is manipulative, judgmental, or domineering. Here is my position. Take it or leave it. So aggression. Here's my position. Take it or leave it. That's aggression, right? But we see when you look at aggressive behavior can lead to relationship failure, increases the chance of emotions escalating, could result in violence. So you need to look at assertive versus aggressive behavior, and you have to be assertive than to be. Look at this aggressive example for this customer service and the employee and then the customer, how this is going to renew. Aggressive behavior with customers aggressive behavior with customers will almost always end up with negative result. What can you do as a service provider to ensure that interactions with others do not escalate into confrontational situations? And these are very, very important things. And we need to always look at the fact that we need to be assertive but not aggressive as we provide services. And this is very, very important. Any suggestion, any question, any. Yeah, so it's McGraw Hill. They provided us with all the slides. Thank you. Thank you.